So what was it? Thursday, the official first 4 episodes of Has Been Hotel dropped. I have mixed feelings about them. And I finally got you to watch them yesterday.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts?
I like it.
Okay. I like it, but there's like, I don't know, it's weird because like the first 3 episodes I think were kind of fun. And then the 4th episode really took kind of a darker turn. And I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it. Well, I think the thing is like, I do enjoy it. Like I enjoyed it. And I think it's also hard to judge a show based on 4 episodes.
Yeah.
At least when you started Hell of a Boss, there was already 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So you were starting with quite a few episodes already in the bag. And the same was true with Good Omens. I think it's very hard to start a show when you have very little information to go on.
And I started season 2 first, right?
Yeah, with Good Omens, yes.
Yeah. With Good Omens.
But I think, because, I guess in a way it makes sense because back in the day, you only had the pilot to go on and decide if you wanted to watch it next week or not.
But like when we started with, like, say, Grey's Anatomy.
I was just going to say, they were already 6 seasons deep.
They were 6 seasons deep.
And we were just like, okay, let's go catch up on all of it.
Exactly.
And I will say, weirdly, a lot of shows...
I love a marathon.
Yeah. I always think it's funny because there's so many shows where people are like, oh, it doesn't really get good until the 2nd season. And I'm like, could you imagine saying that today? Like shows almost don't even get a 2nd season on regular television. So if it has to get good
if you have me on the pilot, I'm committed.
But I will say need to be committed. But I will say for me, I think Grey's Anatomy's first 5 seasons were the best to me.
Yes.
As soon as they started going like hardcore, everything gets dark and twisty and all that, I think they went way too hard. Like I know there was the whole bomb episode in like season 2, but I don't know. I just feel like they...
she went so far on to how many things can happen to one hospital.
It becomes cartoonish
and the majority of it happened to Meredith. And I get it. It's Grey's Anatomy, and she's Meredith Grey. Yeah.
You don't blame her for finally leaving. She's
understand.
Like, this place is fucking cursed.
What is it, 18 years? Or 18 years?
18 seasons. Yeah, that would be.
I'm still watching it. She's not. But because when Christina Yang left...
No, it's been 20 years.
Sarah O fan. Okay.
Sandra O.
It's Cheryl Canning.
What'd I say?
Sarah O. It came out in 2004 because I think it started at the exact same time as Desperate Housewives. And Desperate Housewives has been gone for a while now. That's so weird to think about that. Like Desperate Housewives, Sex and the City, Grey's Anatomy. And I think the end of Will and Grace were all going on at the same time.
And we didn't watch it from the get-go.
No. We
didn't watch Sex and the City.
No.
Mind you.
We didn't have HBO. We're getting way off topic because this is just what's in my head. So this episode is our last minisode episode. And it's kind of funny to even call it a minisode.
We were talking about that.
Because realistically, it's maybe 5 total minutes that are in the present.
Yeah.
So it's more minisode than anything else. So at that point, it's not... Yeah, exactly. Well, at that point, it's not a minisode. It's just the episode that's just set in 1941.
Episode.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God.
No.
I can't with you. Epic-sode. And the thing is, like, there are parts I like and there are parts I don't like. And we're going to get into that. You will notice by now that I have censored the title of this video a little bit. And there's a certain word that I will not be saying in this episode at all, because I don't feel like they added anything.
Oh, Jesus. Gross.
Hello, sinners, and hail Sappho. It's your hostess with the mostest, Askcissa DeVille. I can't with you. You're such an asshole. If you're new here, hi, hello, welcome. We've been expecting you. I make weekly Good Omens content. We're already on episode 4 of season 2, which is wild to me. So this episode, I have to say, in some ways, this is one of my favorite episodes. I love, love, love how it begins with Aziraphale driving home from Edinburgh at night. I love that he's like driving this kind of deserted, I almost said alley for some reason, deserted like foresty area, and he spots a hitchhiker and he's like, oh, I'm super late. Like I can't stop for you, which is weird because when he does actually arrive in Soho, it's literally the next morning. So I'm like, wow, were you just driving all night, girl? Were you Celine Dion? I drove all night? Okay, good for you. You know, he doesn't want to stop. And, you know, the hitchhiker keeps appearing and he's like, that's really strange. And like,
For being an angel.
Yeah,
I
that
mean,
should have
come on
clued you
now.
in first thing. But then they're right in front of the Bentley and he slams on the brake. And of course, they kind of let themselves in, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And of course, we find out that it's Shax. And Aziraphale does not know who she is. But I kind of love that when she does introduce herself, he kind of has this look of like, oh, so you're the bitch who took my boyfriend's job. Got it. And now he's houseless because of you.
Funny.
Got it. And I love how she's like, can I help you? I love how she's like, you don't seem his type at all. And he's like, excuse me? What? You come into my car, well, my boyfriend's car. And start throwing shade at me like you know me. Like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
You're that girl I knew you were.
And then, of course, you know, she says the whole line that I love. 80 or 90 years ago, she heard a rumor that they were an item, but she didn't believe it then, is what she says. I didn't believe it then. And I'm like,
that's the first
now?
shade. Yeah.
No, that's the second shade at that point.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
And I'm like, and now do you believe it? Like, what? Okay. Actually, it probably was the third shade because technically she was saying that the Bentley was a heap of junk and he should have upgraded it. It wasn't. Yeah, she did. She goes, what a heap of junk this thing is. I can't believe he didn't upgrade it.
Oh.
And it's like, it's a classic, bitch.
Oh, okay. Okay. Got it.
Who are you to act like you know anything about cars? But like, whatever. And so, you know, we see this whole scene. They're talking about, you know, where Gabriel is. She's convinced that Crowley has him. And he's like, he doesn't even like Crowley. And then she just goes, he doesn't like you. And I'm like, oh, damn. Okay, girl. But I do love that Aziraphale's like, this Gabriel, whoever it is. And I'm like,
no, come
on. You're an angel. Everyone knows you're an angel.
Yeah.
She already said she knew you were the former angel at the Eastern Gate. Like,
yeah,
she knows you know who that is.
Yeah.
Even though you've lived on Earth forever, you do know who Gabriel is. You can't deny that. I do think it's funny. The whole scene's a little bit weird, though, because I find, like, you know, when she's like, well, you already told me. When he's like, how? How did I told you? And she's like, you didn't, but now you did. And I'm like, what?
Okay. I thought it was just me. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, no, she's just playing mind games. Like, but she...
And then it's so dumb because he never talks to Crowley about it when he gets back.
Course not.
It's just forgotten. And I was like...
Well, it's because they can't communicate properly. That's the thing that gets me. It's like everyone in heaven and hell knows that you two are together, except for you two. How are you so dumb? Like, what is this?
What is your damage, Heather?
Oh, it's 13 o'clock. Oh. So then we cut to hell in the present, where Shax is walking on a mission to see Beelzebub. I love Shax's outfit in this. I think that red dress is gorgeous. The sparkly heels are gorgeous. The haircut.
But that was a choice.
This
when
like
she's in the
choppy bus driver.
I'm like, what is happening?
Really straight, and like the really choppy bangs. I'm like, I don't know about this girl. This is not the look.
Not this.
You know, she goes to see Beelzebub. And this is the first time we get to see this kind of like inner sanctum for Beelzebub. I love that little minion person is like outside the door guarding it. And then like Shax has to like duck to get in. And it's really strange because it's like they're on this pedestal.
Yes.
And then there's like newspapers all around them and then like incense for some reason. It's really, really strange. I don't know what they're going for because it's empty completely except for this like one little almost altar where they stand.
Yeah.
And, you know, Shax is of course beneath them, which I guess makes sense. Their whole conversation is like strange. I know Beelzebub seems unnaturally excited when Shax says they've found Gabriel and he's in the bookshop. And, you know, I want to take a legion of demons and storm the bookshop. Which sounds like a really silly idea to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
Well, because Beelzebub even says, can you enter? And she's like,
well, not even just that.
Well, no.
You're going to take 10,000 demons for a tiny little bookshop? You're not even going to get 10,000 to fit in that bookshop. Let alone, like, what are we doing here? And I just think that's so funny. And so, you know, Shax is like, this is what my plan is. Do you give me permission? And Beelzebub's like, no, I don't give you permission. Actually, I'm demanding you do it, bitch. This was my idea now. Go get him. And I just think that's so funny because it's like, okay, you're not even subtle at this point. You're
Yeah.
not even trying
Yeah.
to pretend like you don't care. Like, okay, we got it. Once you know, so you get it. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
you will storm a tiny bookshop for your boyfriend. Okay. For Gabriel? Oh, no. Wouldn't even storm a Walmart. So I love that when we do go back to Earth and see Aziraphale, he parks the Bentley in front of Nina's coffee shop, and she's coming in on this little weird looking bicycle. It's like
a kid's bicycle.
Yeah, because it's small, but then there's like this really long seat. I've never seen anything like it before. Maybe it's a UK thing. I don't know. I love that Aziraphale's walking to talk to Nina, and the Bentley's just slowly creeping after him.
Like, wants to hear the gossip.
Yeah, exactly. And she's like, put your brakes on. And he's like, are you kidding me? And so he's like yelling at the Bentley, go back to where I parked you. And I'm like, oh, but the Bentley loves you. It would follow you anywhere. And that's literally what Neil said, that the Bentley would have followed him anywhere.
Aww.
And I'm like, and especially because we know it's an extension of Crowley. It's
yeah.
like,
yeah.
Oh, my heart. That's so cute that the Bentley would follow you everywhere. And then, Nina goes inside the coffee shop. We get to see another lovely text from her now ex, Lindsay, it seems like at this point.
Yeah.
And Aziraphale goes back to the bookshop where Crowley is excitedly coming out carrying his plants. He's like, oh, great, you're back. I was getting worried. And he puts the plants inside the back
Not
of the
before
Bentley.
Saying, oh, did you miss me?
I know.
I
think that's so funny. Yeah. His little lovey-dovey with his car is so ridiculous. And Aziraphale's like, I'm not jealous at all. Your car missed you. I, however, had a really rough night, but I'm not going to tell you about that because I'm bitter about you
we
loving
don't
your
communicate
car more. Yeah, exactly.
about that.
Yeah. He puts his plants in. I love that when Crowley's asking about it, he says, is there any more news about the mystery of the missing archangel, which sounds like the title of a Nancy Drew novel. And I used to love Miss Nancy Drew back in the day, so I would have read the shit out of that.
Yeah.
And then Crowley's like, okay, so the rain thing that I had an idea about didn't work. And so Aziraphale's like, all right, well, I guess we got to throw this party then. And Crowley's like, we're really doing this? And he's like, yeah, we're doing it. That is the literal end of the episode. But that's not the end of our episode because we're going to be doing the minisode now. And this one takes place in 1941. I will say what I kind of love about this scene is I love the way they did the title cards. I don't know what it was about this season. They really had fun with the title cards. It feels like it's like a black and white thing. It feels like kind of old Hollywood. It's very interesting the way they did this title card. I think it's really pretty. I know it was inspired by something. I don't remember what it was. You can tell me in the comments because I'm sure people who are better at this remember. I'm just a reviewer. I'm not a perfectionist, which is not true, but I'm trying. I'm trying. Shut up. It picks up exactly where the last one left off, or actually it kind of picks up a few minutes before.
Yeah.
Because we re-see the scene where the bomb falls and the fallout of that. But there's kind of a little bit of a twist ending on this. And it feels like what they would call a retcon, which is the idea of like, after you've already made a decision, you're going back and changing it to be something else because it fits with the new story better.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is the 3 soon-to-be zombies dead for all intents and purposes as far as we know. But then when Aziraphale goes to grab the books, suddenly we see, I think it's Mr. Glosier, opens his eyes for a second.
I know, I thought that was very bizarre.
And then closes them immediately, and then we're down in hell. And I don't know why this was necessary. This whole scene to me, and this whole inclusion of the zombies feels extremely unnecessary. Or if you wanted to have zombies, make them any other zombies.
Because let's be very clear. Forgive me for a second. Okay. The size of that bomb.
Yes.
Would have torn them completely apart.
Well, yeah, it leveled the church and it all fell on top of them. Yeah.
They would have been smushed pancakes.
Yeah.
Body parts would have come off.
Yeah.
And there was no way in hell.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. That he would even be able to open his eyes.
Yeah. So it's like this idea that like he's not quite dead. He just had to overhear just enough so that he could use it against them.
But the thing is that you're saying that, but then the other 2 chime in to know things too.
Yeah, exactly.
So none of them were completely dead. They all overheard it.
Well, see, because
some of it was spoken.
Some of it
before.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, when they were all in the church together.
Yeah. But it's the whole thing. I don't know. I don't think they add anything.
Yeah.
It feels like this attempt at like this very slapsticky.
Well, because it
they're
was
incompetent.
1941.
I know, but it feels like this very slapsticky, they were just super incompetent. And like, I mean, yeah, okay, but I think that's, I don't know. I don't care for it. Personally, I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it adds anything. I think if you wanted to include them, you could have just shown them in hell, like, giving for the information, because he's kind of a pathetic little demon. He does not get the opportunities that Crowley has.
Yeah.
He wants
and
to
he
get out
hates
of there.
Crowley for that.
Yeah, he wants to get out of there. And Shax is like, well, hey, I have the ear of the higher demons. If you see someone or hear about a demon who's doing some good, which is really convenient, by the way, let me know.
Because it happens like 5 seconds later.
Yeah, exactly. Let me know and we'll get this roast a cooking, as they say. So I know, I can't help myself. I love that line so much. But it's like, she's like, we're going to get it done, right? So it feels very convenient, let's say. And then, of course, he meets these three who are all there together. I love that they're like, oh, it's all Crowley's fault. And Furfur's like, wait, who? And I'm like, there's no way that is the only man named Crowley in all of England. There's no fucking way.
Yeah.
There's a whole county called Crowley. Like, there's no way. Of course, when they mention something about demonic intervention, that's what really clues him in. And he's like, okay, I'm going to learn everything I can about this, and then I'm going to use it.
And his sissy friend, Mr. Femme.
I know, that was a lot. We did not need, yet again, Aziraphale being called not just a sissy, but also in the same episode. We did not need that girl.
No, that's so upsetting.
I know it would happen in the book literally every fucking chapter. But I'm like, can we just give Aziraphale a break? Like, for 5 seconds. What is going on here? So, like, all of this doesn't make sense. But, like, okay, let's pretend for a second that you keep everything else the same about this concept. I think if you had left them in hell, just giving them that information, giving Furfur that information, I don't think the story would have changed if Furfur was the one who followed them around.
Yeah.
I don't think anything would have had to have changed. Because he still is the one ultimately who fucks it up.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't think anything would have changed.
Why did they add them?
Adding the zombies adds nothing to this story. I'm sure it's going to come up in season 3 because we do see Gabriel saying that the dead will leave their graves, blah, blah, blah. Any other zombies could have worked just as sufficiently. I don't know why it had to be these specific ones. No, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like it. And then again, I don't like that they did the actual zombie eating as, like, again, kind of like a slapsticky thing.
Yeah.
They did it in shadows and made it like this whole big thing. But then they're like in the background when they eat the first guy and they're like burping and saying his lines. I'm like, what is this? I respect your artistic vision, I guess. We cut to Crowley and Aziraphale in the Bentley. I love that Aziraphale is still very enamored that he saved the books. And he's like, well, if there's anything I can ever do for you. And I'm like, okay, girl, what are we offering here? Because it sounds like something's about to go down here.
I can suck you.
And Crowley's like, forget about it. We got work to do. I gotta go, make this alcohol run, which I think is hilarious. So he takes Aziraphale to the West End, and of course Aziraphale is thrilled by this, even though it's like a burlesque show, and I'm sure he's less thrilled about that. I do kind of find it interesting that we get to meet this character, Mrs. Henderson, who, again, one of those one-off characters who's kind of interesting, kind of bitchy. I mean, I get that it's probably stressful to do what she's doing, but I also think, like, she is so pissed at Crowley because those bottles were broken. And he's like, well, I was near a place where a bomb went off, and she's like, I don't fucking give a shit. I want my alcohol. And I'm just like, damn, girl, okay, that's a little cold. Like, what's going on here. And I'm like, why couldn't you have just miracled some extra bottles? But anyway, it's fine. And I love that she's like, and on top of all of that, my magician for the evening was arrested as a deserter. And Aziraphale's like, ooh, this is my chance. This is my chance. I can help you. And Crowley's like, yes. He's like, I love you and I support you, but also no. So, of course, he agrees. And it's very, very amusing because Aziraphale is very, very bad at magic. You gotta love it. And then, of course, we get when we do go back to hell, because it kind of goes back and forth between hell and London. When we do go back to hell, we learned that inexplicably, on top of adding the zombies into this, Furfur just has this power now to block miracles.
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
Oh, but you want to really fight.
Like, again, it's this whole thing of, like, it's these weird contrived things that I don't know what they add to the story at all. And I feel
because why didn't any of the other ones do that?
Exactly. It never comes up before, and it probably will never come up again. And it just is like, okay, this is a weird plot device. And I get, to a point, the whole thing with them and doing the bullet catch trick is like, I trust you implicitly.
Yeah.
And that they can do things without their magic or without their miracles. But at the same time, it's like, I don't know. It feels, I don't know, maybe I'm being too hard. And again,
I think you kind of are.
Well,
but
sorry.
again, it's your opinion.
It's not that I don't enjoy the episode, and it's not that I don't enjoy the idea of them doing the magic trick. And I do love those genuine moments where Crowley cheers him on, and Aziraphale seems so excited because he does not get that.
And
outside
what was your opinion when it seemed like Crowley was? I don't know if David Tennant was. You know how they can go off the cuff, if you will, where he goes and he has that
American
voice.
accent. Yeah,
it's American.
I do wonder if that
and he goes,
was
and you're like, what's happening?
I do wonder if that was in the script like that, because it's so fucking funny to me. Because it's a very particular idea of an American accent, especially in that time frame, and I think it works. I think it's hilarious.
Like it was a cowboy or something.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it's so fucking funny the way he did that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I like that scene.
Oh,
I like
do,
how
too.
he did it. I think David's always
That's thunder.
Fun. I know. So I particularly liked that scene. And then they leave the bookshop, they go to the magic shop. So they go in. I love that when they first get in, they show them what is basically the old peanut can gag, but it's like the original version. It's like in this big box, and they open it and the snake pops out.
Oh, I know.
And poor Aziraphale is like having a heart attack, and Crowley is like living his best life. He's like, that is amazing.
Yeah.
And you got to love him because he looks so overjoyed. And Aziraphale's like, that's not the sort of trick I want. Get the fuck away from me with that. Then he sees these interconnected rings, and the sound he makes I can only describe as a whorish moan.
Oh yeah.
That's the only thing I can describe that as. It's usually how he sounds when he's eating. Anyway, we get it. It's a sex metaphor. Anyway, so he's very excited to see these rings. I love the idea that he's like, I'm naturally very good at prop work, as he's flinging things left, right, and center, making a huge mess. Really just, again, it's very slapsticky, this episode. I don't know I don't think vaudeville was around this time, but that's certainly what they're going for in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that Crowley's just watching him like, are you good? What is going on here? You are flailing like a newborn deer. And then the owner of the magic shop is like, oh, I'm going to show you this other trick. It's this, rope trick, which kind of seems very silly. Aziraphale's kind of excited about it at first until the guy calls it amateur, and then he's like, excuse me, no. I'm about to perform in the West End. And here, let me not only tell you that, let me tell you the exact time, which is going to be 8 p.m. So it was at least 7. And I'm going to tell you the exact location. Why would you do that? Why would you tell an exact stranger, this is where I'm going to be performing? I'm thinking I'm going to show up? What is happening here? And of course, the zombies overhear all that. And you're just like, I don't get this. And there's another scene where they're in the pub. Actually, before they go to the magic shop, they're in the pub and they're like, we're going to watch them. The one, I think it's Glozier. I can't remember their names because I don't care enough. Is like, well, I'm a good lip reader, so I'll just read their lips. And then he says a bunch of random gibberish that makes it seem like he's stupid, but technically he was correct because that was what Aziraphale was saying.
Yeah.
But it's also again, I don't think this scene adds anything. I feel like we spent way too much time. I know,
because they come in, the one comes in, and then he's
playing with the ring, and he turns the wrong one, so ink gets in his face. And, it's
and then he's wearing those glasses with the fake mustache. It's ridiculous.
What's his name? Charlie Chaplin is what it is. It's one of those Charlie Chaplin.
Okay.
What is this adding? What is this doing?
Because
We're trying to pay
it's
attention to them.
making the buffoonery.
I think we spent way too much time with them that we could have spent watching Crowley and Aziraphale. Aziraphale sees the bullet catch. He's very, very excited. The owner of the magic shop.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what his name is. I think he might be Will Goldstone, but I'm not sure. But he's like, yeah, that's not a good idea. That's a very dangerous trick.
Yes.
And I love that here again, we have Crowley using Aziraphale's money to get what he wants, basically. I think that's so funny. He's like, yeah, okay, maybe his life is worth more than, $7, but how about $27? I'm like, oh, okay, just throw away his money. And Aziraphale's like, excuse me.
Yeah.
But it does feel very domestic too. He's like, I'm just going to take money out of your wallet and give it to him.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And then I love that he's like, okay, for this trick, you've got to have somebody who's really knows their stuff and you can really trust. And Aziraphale's like, yeah, I've got the perfect man for the job. And then he's like, wait, do I? And so he pulls him to the side so they can talk about it. Meanwhile, all this shit's going on in the background. I'm like, I don't care about that. I want to hear this conversation. Thank you.
Yeah.
I love that Aziraphale just assumes that because he's a demon that Crowley shot a lot of guns. And Crowley doesn't correct him. He's like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. Whatever.
Yeah.
And you're like, are we sure about this? And so the scene ends. Magic shop owner gets eaten. There's a dummy which has an exploding brain head for some reason. And like,
yeah, that was odd.
So then we go to Ladies of Camelot show on the West End. And I love that when Aziraphale goes on, he seems to have some stage fright. He's very nervous. He's getting heckled already, which seems to be a running theme with him because he got heckled by 11-year-olds in season 1, and now he's getting heckled by these people here. So I'm like, girl,
military
he cannot
men
catch a break.
No.
And I love that.
But I mean, they're there for the Ladies of Camelot, not exactly. For a magician.
Well, I mean, if Mrs. Henderson thought it was important enough that she got one, obviously she thought it was something.
Yeah.
So I love that, like, he's like, okay, well, I need a volunteer. Does anyone know how to use firearms? And I love that at no point, even though they've rehearsed this, at no point does Crowley raise his hand until Aziraphale chooses him and he's like, oh, yeah, whoops, me.
Yeah, because he's looking
like,
around. You're
like, I'm sorry, are we new? You guys, what is happening?
Why are y'all acting brand new?
So he goes up and then Aziraphale's like, we're just going to test the magic, right? And so he's going to change his turn up. But of course, Furfur's already there. He blocks his miracles, so he can't change it. So then Furfur heckles him and everyone else starts heckling him for not being good. And then, Crowley's in the back trying to make his miracles go. His miracles don't work. So he's like, oh shit, I got to read this for real now.
Yeah.
And you got to love that. They still decide to go through with it. So there's this whole very long drawn out scene of them doing the bullet catch trick and kind of like, it's very tense to the point that even the camera is shaking, which is an interesting choice. I know that was on purpose, but it's a little disorienting at times.
That is funny.
He tells him, okay, just load the bullet and this is what you got to do. And Crowley's like, so I just push this part here. And Aziraphale's like, I'm sorry, have you never shot a gun before? And he's like, not as such, no.
Yeah, not as such.
And Aziraphale's like,
he always says not as.
Aziraphale really has the look on his face like,
now a warning?
We're already here. We're committed to this.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're going to tell me you don't know how to shoot? Oh, God, that's scary. I also love the revelation. I forgot to mention this. Back in the magic shop, I love the revelation that Aziraphale has a gun license and that he has a gun that he keeps in a hollowed out book. I think that's so funny. And Crowley's like, you read too many books. Because he's like, in case I get into a scrape. But I'm like, but yet he doesn't use it when he does get robbed. He just gives them cake. So I don't know. Did he forget that he had a gun? It's the whole long scene. Crowley is very clearly nervous. His hand is shaking as he's pointing the gun at Aziraphale. Furfur is making a joke about how they won't be able to put him back together again. And it's very tense, but also, like, again, it's a trust thing. And he points it, and then at the last second, he kind of drifts it over to the side, shoots it into the wall, and it nearly hits Mrs. Henderson, which I think is hilarious. She's like, excuse me, that was really close to my head.
She was not happy.
And then Aziraphale seems very surprised to find that he has the bullet in his teeth. But the way I understand it, it would have been in his mouth to begin with.
Yeah.
Because that's how that magic trick works. So it's kind of funny
that
he
I think
seems
it was
very
the
shocked about
timing, I think.
Maybe.
Because it seemed like, ding.
Yeah. But I do love that when the Furfur does get the picture of them, it's literally just Aziraphale handing him a gun. And when you actually see the picture, it doesn't look that bad. Like, yeah, they're holding a gun together, but it doesn't look
but
that
I think
bad
it was
to me.
more of them being together.
Yeah, I guess.
Because they were talking about how he was saying that they didn't know each other, and it was the proof of them together.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I've said in the past, I made a whole video about how this whole scene is like very much them kind of being outed against their will, or at least that's the idea of it. And so there is like a whole other thing to that. But I love that, Aziraphale's so happy. They're backstage.
Oh,
Aziraphale,
so
has
cute.
his little boa. He's just living his best gay life.
Woo-hoo.
He's living his best gay life. And of course, Furfur has to come in and ruin everything. And I love that he's like, oh, I don't, you don't know me, Angel, but Crowley knows me. And Crowley's like, I'm sorry, who the fuck are you?
Who are you?
I know, he's so mad. He's
He
like, it's
never
me.
remembered-
We did this,
he never remembers anyone.
No.
Because his mind has a sole focus and it's on Aziraphale.
Yes.
And then I love that there's that whole moment where Furfur is trying to say Aziraphale's name and he fucks it up so hard and Aziraphale's like, bitch, it's Aziraphale. What the fuck do you want? Like,
it was
he
funny.
looks so pissed. He's like,
Yeah.
say my name right, asshole. So we get this whole scene, and then Furfur, in an act of gloating, decides he's going to show off the picture that he has.
Yeah.
I'm like,
no,
okay.
but I think it's perfect.
Well,
It's
obviously,
perfect
because it gets them what they need.
And it shows that Aziraphale does have some
Yes.
sleight of hand skills.
Yes, when it's convenient, which is nice. So
when they're in a jam,
yeah, exactly.
he seems
that's
to
what I'm
always
saying.
come through.
Yes,
Yeah.
he does. They both do. So I love that as Crowley looks at it and he's like, okay, yeah, whatever. And he hands it to Aziraphale, and Aziraphale's like, looking like he's going to put it in his pocket. And then you see that like kind of sleight of hand thing that he does, and he hands him back the envelope. And Furfur's like, all right, you're coming with me. And Crowley's like, the fuck I am. I'm going to bed.
Yeah.
And Furfur is so pissed about it. He ends up leaving, but he does show them that the zombies are there. And Aziraphale's like, what the fuck? I think Aziraphale is all of us in that moment. He's like, you gotta be kidding me. These fuckers are dead. They're like, no, not anymore. And you're like, okay, anyway, I'm gonna get over it. We're almost done.
She's gonna get over it.
Shut up. We're almost done. Cut to hell. We see Furfur meeting with the Dark Council. He hands them the envelope, and you don't see them, you see them look at it, and they're like, yeah, whatever. And they hand it back to him, and he's like, wait, what the fuck do you mean I'm not getting a promotion? And then he opens it, and it's an ad for the Ladies of Camelot. And he's like, what? That wasn't what that was. And so then we cut back to the bookshop. I love that there's like this little table. It's candlelit. It's very much a romantic scene.
Yeah.
They're drinking wine together. They're having a conversation about trust and like how, you said, trust me, and you did. And then, Aziraphale has that whole line about how, if you were as bad as you say, you wouldn't have helped me. And Crowley's like, listen, you are too, into the black and white of it all. I think shades of gray are necessary here. And all I can think every time I see that scene is, don't think about 50 Shades. Don't think about 50 Shades. Don't think about 50 Shades. And I can't help it because it comes up every time when he says shades of gray. And I'm like, fuck.
And then he couldn't. Because he was asking him,
oh yeah, he was showing.
how did you do it?
He was showing.
And then
him
he
how
tries
did
to
it,
show, and
then
he
fucks
couldn't
up
do
again.
it.
He's like,
and he's
well,
like,
I did it the time.
well,
it
I did it the time.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's the episode.
I just feel that I, not being a writer.
Yeah, that sentence really said it. I not being a writer. Yeah,
I
know what you mean.
myself,
Yeah,
who is not a writer,
Yeah.
is that better?
yes. Sorry.
Respects, Neil Gaiman's process and what.
Well, no, I can
and I know
respect
you
that
do
it's
too.
It's his
No,
story.
I
I
know.
don't hate the episode.
I think I agree with. I don't know what the value was using this
Mhm.
and the zombie and the
Yeah.
cartoonishness. I agree,
Yeah,
but overall, it was. It had some good moments in it, and it is what it is.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, it's the story
and
we
you
have,
gotta
and
you
that's-
gotta like the whole show.
Yeah.
Not every
Well, you
part
don't
of it
have
is
to like
gonna.
it, yeah.
No, I know.
But
enjoy
Here's what I think.
overall
It will be
Good Omens,
Yes,
but
it will
it's
be
going to
very
have moments.
satisfying
Yeah,
if in the next season we really get to see them just get torn to shreds because they're already falling apart, and it's
Yeah.
been like 5 minutes. So
yeah.
I cannot
Yeah, I
imagine
know.
in
They're
2019
walking
they're
and
not going to be.
arms are falling.
And how are people not noticing this?
I know. Everybody's just walking oblivious. But again, I think
I'm sure they're real fun at Halloween.
Yeah. I think it just was the way he
Yeah.
wanted the episode to go.
And I get that, and I can respect that.
Yeah.
I think it'll be. I'm
Yeah.
hoping in season 3 we'll get to see them taken out
Yeah,
once and for all.
sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I still like the episode. Like I said, I
I
like
did too.
certain scenes more than others.
Mhm.
I think the magic scene is a lot of fun. I like that it's a whole trust thing.
Yeah,
There is something to be said about these moments that kind of like show their relationship over the years.
Correct.
And every time Aziraphale will say that's what friends are for, and he kind of pauses because he wants to say more, but it's very clear that he can't.
Mhm.
I think all of those things are always fun, and I like the 1941 stuff because I feel like it's particularly romantic for some reason. But at the same time, it's just like I don't know. I don't know.
in a lot of ways, it's a little dark.
It's frustrating
it's-
at times,
yes,
and this scene
yeah.
was particularly had a lot of frustrating moments. I just feel like we didn't need them as much. Like if you're gonna do it, I think maybe just keeping them to hell would have been sufficient.
Yeah.
But it's what's done is done, and that's that. And yeah, that was the episode. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to comment down below. Tell me what you thought about this episode, because obviously I have a lot of bitchy opinions. And of course, subscribe to this channel. You can also become a member of my channel. We have two tiers, the Ineffable tier and the R-Side tier. In the R-Side tier, you do get early access to videos, special shout outs, and behind the scenes content. You can also become a member of my Patreon. That's patreon.com/narcissa I post early access there, as well as extra kind of content that maybe didn't make it into the episode because I am very long-winded. And sometimes we get off on tangents and I'm like, I don't know, is this part of the episode? Should we keep this in the episode? Hard to say. And until next time, stay devilish and see you next Tuesday.